Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime series, proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can listen to us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com, where we talk about everything leadership, coaching, and marketing. And you can listen to or catch the Lunchtime series on all major podcast channels today. In our marketing and leadership segment, joining me as per usual, marketing communications expert Craig Page-Lee. How you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm well, thank you. Good to be chatting again. And as numbers are really something important to you, particularly in the numerological point of view,
Yes.
get that around my tongue. I thought to mention that we're recording our 123rd show today. So the numbers 1, 2, 3. So I did a quick bit of search to see what the meaning of the number 1, 2, 3 is, and
Yes.
established the following. Just
Fantastic. I love it.
So from a finance point of view or money point of view, 1, 2, 3 represents new opportunities to build your wealth. So let the show be the beginning of that for both of us, because I could sure as hell do with some of that. From a career point of view, 1, 2, 3 could signify new opportunities for professional growth. And what was quite amazing to learn, Kevin, is that the number 1, 2, 3 is the 11th member of the Mian Chawla sequence. You go and check that out. It's something quite impactful. Along with 6, 1, 2, 3 is only one of 2 positive integers that is simultaneously 2 more than the perfect square and 2 less than the perfect cube. So 11 squared plus 2 is 5. 5 cubed minus 2 gives the number 1, 2, 3. And I hope that resonates with you, Kevin.
Talk about taking this whole conversation to another level. I love it. No, Craig, but honestly, not to weird it out a bit, but it's quite remarkable when you do start paying. It's also got the Fibonacci. I think it's the Fibonacci spiral. That
yes.
There's also code within that. And when you start paying attention to all the obviousness that some of these that a lot of numbers sort of show us how, and everything that works from 1 to 9, and how those numbers are so prevalent. And for example, 369 is also very, very important numbers when you really look into the numbers and numerology. Really, I'm definitely going to be looking out at this Mian Chawla sequence. So
I thought that would appeal to you.
So before we kick off today's conversation, what are the key takeaways from last week that you can share with us? Because we had a nice conversation around leadership.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you. It was really a great conversation. And as a reminder, we covered the article published by McKinsey and Company's Marketing and Sales Practice Division. And the article is titled, "Are You a Growth Leader?" It was written by a cohort of 4 authors, and the article focused on 7 beliefs and behaviors that growth leaders share, and was structured around findings and highlights from a survey focusing on what separates leaders from the pack. And the 7 statements that define growth leaders are noted as follows. So the first statement is, "I am always in." And it consists of 3 behaviors, these being behavior 1, always put growth first; behavior 2, keep raising the bar; and behavior 3, unite the business around growth. The second statement is, "I am willing to fail," and it consists of 2 behaviors. The first being, make plenty of bets, and behavior 2 is, back the risk takers. The third statement is, "I know my customer as a person and not as a data point." And this statement consists of 2 behaviors. The first being, take the customer's side; the second being, make it personal. The fourth statement is, "I favor action over perfection." And this statement consists of 3 behaviors, these being behavior 1, put yourself on the front line; behavior 2, act on good enough insights; and behavior 3, face the facts insights. The fifth statement is, "I fight for growth." And this consists of 2 behaviors, the first being, avoid short-termism; and the second behavior is, act on good enough insights. The sixth statement is, "I have a growth story I tell all the time." And this consists of 2 behaviors. The first behavior being, infuse the business with purpose. And the second behavior is, communicate, communicate, and communicate. And finally, Kevin, the 7th statement is, "I give control to other." this consisting of 3 behaviors. And the first behavior is build up people's growth muscles, a really, really nice point. Second is give power to the front line. And the third behavior is go outside to get what's needed. And those are the key reminder points from last week's conversation.
Fantastic, guys. If you want to go and check it out, it's a really good conversation around leadership and what growth leadership really looks like. If you want to find out, go and check it out on YouTube and also all your major podcast channels. Just check out the Lunchtime series where Craig and I are on every week without fail, no matter where we are in the world.
That's right.
We've even done this from, I think, from a houseboat. I've actually been on a houseboat.
Yeah, you've done it from a houseboat. I've done it from London. So yes, yeah, that's quite right.
So Craig, what are we going to be chatting about today?
Kevin, so we focused on leadership last week, so I thought let's shift the focus to employees this week. And I came across an article that was published on the 3rd of August this year, so very, very current, again on McKinsey and company, but this was on the Author Talks series, and it was titled "Empower Your Employees, Reduce Turnover." And the article is an edited overview of a really interesting discussion held between Alyssa Bandler, who's McKinsey Global Publishing lead, and Zeynep Ton, who's the co-founder and president of Good Jobs Institute and professor of the practice at the MIT Sloan School of Management. So incredibly well written and published author here as well, Kevin. The conversation focuses on Zeynep Ton's new book, The Case for Good Jobs, and how great companies bring dignity, pay, and meaning to everyone's work. 3 really important facets. And the book examines the positive impact of targeted job strategies on performance, productivity, and profit. A nice 3 Ps, a bit of alliteration there. The Case for Good Jobs is actually a follow-up to Zeynep Ton's previous book, which is titled Good Jobs Strategy. And the Case for Good Jobs examines the why and how of the good job system, which in essence is to help leaders and managers overcome the disconnect between recognizing the better models and having actual courage to implement it, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're having a conversation about this, Craig, because I think, as much as we often we look at the leaders in business and we look at leaders in general and kind of go, well, we have this unspoken expectation because you are the leader, you're supposed to be, all knowing and and have all the answers. But essentially, as much as we want those conversations to be had, we also need to take into consideration who are the people who are implementing.
Absolutely. And to that point, Kevin, is I like the fact that you reference leaders there again, because actual leaders are the enablers and designers of these programs, which in turn, meet the needs of employers and provide the right environment and resources and structures to enable them to deliver what's required of them.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, what does the Case for Good Jobs mean or stand for, Craig?
Kevin, so one of the statements from Zeynep Ton in the interview with Melissa Bandler addresses the question quite well, and the feedback is noted as follows, and it opens with the statement: the most important thing about the good job system is that it is an integrated system focused on improving, take note, value for the customer. So whilst we're talking about employees, at the end of the day, this can only be achieved by adhering to the first component of the good job strategy, which is to make a heavy investment in people. And you need to do this with a lot more money and intensity than your competitors might. And the second component of the good job strategy is directly related to the first, and that it's about operational design and resilience. And resilience being something we've covered previously, which in turn increases the productivity of the employees and enables them to serve customers well. So you can see the direct linkage around employees as being central to both components, but the first around, being focusing on customer value, Kevin.
Yeah.
What stood out for me is the clarity assigned to applying either of the operational design choices that a business has. And these are five sort of four key areas of focus, and I'm going to touch on each of them in a bit more detail. The first is focus and simplicity. The second is standardize and empower. The third is cross-train. And the fourth is operate with Slack. And again, what I'm loving about the reports we've covered the last 3-4 weeks is the simplicity of the terminologies and constructs of thinking that leaders and organizations are able to apply to drive their business forward in meaningful and sustainable ways. And it's worth noting here, Kevin, that companies who adopt the good job system and implement point one, focus and simplicity, actually have much higher discipline in creating value for their customers. And then picking up on the concept of resilience, which is a key component of operational design, we learned that the leading companies are building new levels of resilience in 3 ways, Kevin. First, they're revisiting their supply base and global asset footprints. They're rapidly digitizing operations end to end, and they're transforming business models to achieve cross-functional agility in their operations.
Craig, what's interesting about focus on and simplify? As an assessor to the Neuroscience for Business Leadership program, one of the first modules that they speak about is, you got to drink water, you got to exercise, you got to oxygenate your brain. The very last point that they make is simplification.
Uh-huh.
As a leader, for you to really step into a moment of understanding how your brain will be impacted on the choices you make, you have to simplify your life. And they literally simplify everything. So simplify how you do what you're doing, simplify your space, simplify how many meetings you have, simplify the structure and the strategies that you have throughout your week. So simplification is not only useful in this context, it's actually useful in your brain's health context too.
That's
it's
great.
Quite interesting that it's such an overlap and it becomes such an obvious point.
And what I like about it is the segue into the second point of standardize and empower, because standardizing certain processes and behaviors and thinking is part and parcel of an output of simplification. Kevin.
Exactly. Yeah. So, how do these companies leverage employee capabilities, Craig?
So Kevin, the companies that are applying the good job system are focused on positioning their employees so that they can actually serve customers well. And when decisions have been made at a leadership level, they consider key points. One of them being, how does this decision enable the frontline employees to serve customers well or better? And they simplify all the base rules, particularly around the low value end activities, respecting workers' time and enabling employees to serve customers well at the end of the day. And that's why focus and simplicity is the first choice, Kevin. Then the second choice here is the standardizing and empowering aspect. And we see these particular companies taking control as much as possible, with a key focus on removing decision-making from the front lines. Now, what was interesting for me, that this actually may seem contradictory to the case being made, but there is need to take control in companies that operate with high turnover and where there are low levels of trust with frontline workers. That said, though, companies applying the good job system definitely want to leverage the employees' full potential, capability, and knowledge, everything they know, so they standardize the processes. And not only do they standardize as much of the process of delivery as possible, they also, most importantly, involve their employees in creating those standards, and this in turn empowers them to solve the customer's problems collectively. And Zeynep notes the following: these companies empower the employees to have ideas to improve the system. The combination of standardization and empowerment both increase productivity and contribution of workers, enabling companies to pay them more. Now their job is a much better job because they can actually shine in front of the customer.
Craig, what's interesting about this to me is the WINGS concept, also the work industry neutral growth skills that we've spoken about before.
Yes.
What's interesting about empower your employers to have ideas to improve the system, and that speaks to creativity and critical thinking, right? When we were having a conversation about this morning, actually, around do companies cultivate and create an experience in an organization where they are empowered to be able to critically think and sort of bring their creative ideas to the fore. And when you do find that, you find a far more empowered, cohesive group of people working together to solve
Yes.
whatever they need to solve. So, I mean, the fact that it mentions it, yeah, is like it's almost like it's a no-brainer to kind of, really create a space where people are allowed to be, to have a voice which is quite inclusive, but also to critically think, and to say, well, this doesn't work. How can we better this?
Yes.
So it just makes for a really better, far more conducive work environment.
Absolutely, Kevin. So another way that these companies can leverage employee capabilities is by the cross-training proposition. This being the third choice of the good jobs strategy. So in this instance, companies that view their employees as a cost that needs to be reduced either have very specialized roles in the organization, or actually they're expecting the employees to do too much. And within the good job system, the objective is to create productivity and ownership. And this is achieved by cross-training the employees to perform both customer-facing tasks and non-customer-facing tasks. And the net result here is that the level of flexibility that enables staff to react to changes in customer demand and create ownership in that specific area of the business. The final point here, Kevin, is leveraging employee capabilities by operating with Slack, this being the fourth choice of a good job strategy. And as per the earlier point made, companies that see employees as a cost will want to have as few people as possible, get as much work done as possible, but that inevitably leads to mistakes, burnout, and a multitude of customer problems down the line, Kevin. So that said, companies applying the good job system want to focus on the customers and be able to react to the constant changes in customer demand. And this means that they need to have Slack in their systems, but they also need to be able to allow employees to have time for continuous improvement, to hear what customers want, and actually to make better hiring decisions.
Yeah, look, it hasn't been spoken about currently for some time now, but burnout is still a thing.
Yes.
It's still prevalent and it's still relevant. And I think what's really kind of pushing that agenda in environments currently is the economy of the world, and the state of countries at the moment, and with inflation and everything doing what it's doing, people jumping on that bandwagon. Leaders are pushing more and pushing more, and they don't have enough slack. They don't have enough, ability to kind of go, okay, you need some time off, you need some time away, or what can we do to make this a little bit easier for you? So I mean, it's a very fine balance to find that kind of, what is the slack, and how do I keep my team thriving?
Absolutely. And again, I think the key drivers in so many instances is just, it's value, monetary value and budget. So trying to reduce cost wherever you can, which, at the end of the day, either means elimination of employees or just, dialing up the employee expectation too much, which, as you say, directly impacts on the burnout net result.
So, I mean, Greg, what can leaders do to deliver the good job system?
Kevin, Zainab Ton notes in the discussion that one of her most important observations in working with leaders trying to adopt a good job strategy is actually how important it is to create urgency and alignment to implement the system change. So urgency and alignment being two interconnected concepts there. And we learned that to make the system change effective, it has to be wholly centered around, again, the customer. The reason is that the companies that were able to successfully adopt a system, this particular system, made it very clear that in order to grow and survive, we have to win with our customers. And Zainaton also states that in order to win with our customers, we also have to execute well operationally. And in order to execute well operationally, we have to keep the employee turnover low and set our employees up for success. Therefore, we must invest in our people and make these operational choices.
I love this. I just, sorry, on that point, like, When you're setting people up for success, chances are that you would succeed far more likely than when you actually disregard it or you don't really pay attention to it.
Absolutely.
Attention to set someone up for success helps succeed in any environment.
Yes.
It's a really important point.
Yeah. But a key learning from this thinking is that urgency is the number one lesson that leaders have demonstrated when learning to adapt, at least adopt these good job strategies. And they need this to survive growth and align different functions. They've definitely got commissions and goals in hand, so they really have to remain focused in that regard. The second lesson is for leaders to make upstream changes and pay investments as early as possible in the good job strategy journey. Urgency is required when trying to get out of the survive and growth cycle, and adopting two sets of decision making will actually help in achieve this. And we learned that the best way to exit quickly is to simultaneously make two sets of decisions and changes. And the first set of decision and changes is theoretically more relevant for lower work or at least lower wage employees, Kevin. And this entails making pay and employee investments as much and as early as possible to start attracting the right people and the right talent to the jobs, and most importantly, keeping them in place. And it goes without saying, Kevin, that making pay investments early on can be difficult for many companies, especially if low profit margins and labor costs represent such a significant portion of the overall cost of running the business. The second set of decisions, coupled to the pay investment decisions, is to interrogate all four choices with key emphasis on the focus and simplify decisions, then on to cross-train, and then standardize and empower. And to get this right, leaders really need to determine what to subtract from the workloads to increase the customer experience, and again, to set up employees for success. And making these two sets of changes, the subtraction of workload and work availability, as well as investment in people, should definitely drive companies out of that vicious cycle and create much more sustainable momentum across the business, Kevin. And again, once operational stability is in place and turnover is lower, employees are empowered and stay with the company. And as a result, they will have much stronger managers and a system of continuous improvement. And the most important point to note here is that to make the basic investments in pay and employees as early as possible. That's the right investment, Kevin.
Greg, so I mean, as we come to the end of the show today, what are the key takeaways that we can share with the listeners?
Kevin, so the key takeaways are actually from another article on the same topic, namely empowering employees. This particular one is titled "How to Empower Employees in the Workplace: 8 Tips." The article was written by Patrick Bosworth and was published to leadershipchoice.com. The article defines empowering employees as giving your team members permission to take action and make decisions within your organization. It also means there is a trust and understanding in place to ensure these actions are in line with the company goals. Empowering employees is a culture. It takes an increase in trust, clear communication, and strategic delegation. To empower employees, consider the following 8 steps. And I'll just give you a snippet of every single one of the steps to wrap up today. So step 1 is delegate to develop. So delegate with the intent to strengthen and empower your team, growing and developing their capabilities and responsibilities. Step 2 is set clear expectations. Give your employees permission to make decisions while ensuring the decisions are in line with the company goals, but define the boundaries within which your employees are free to act. Step 3, give employees autonomy over assignments. When delegating, accept that your employees may complete the task very differently than you would. Relinquish control, refrain from micromanaging, and accept that your way may not be the only way or best way to complete a particular project. Step 4 is provide necessary resources. Offer tools and resources and be a sounding board for ideas so that employees feel empowered. Step 5 is give constructive feedback. So when briefing on a project, be thoughtful and specific about the feedback you provide. Be specific about the actions or attitudes you'd like to see repeated and the impact it had on others. Step 6, accept ideas and input. Include your employees in decision making and goal setting. Being open to hearing and receptive to new ideas helps empower your employees. Step 7, communicate the vision of the organization. By clearly communicating the vision of the organization and how a team and its individuals contribute to that vision, you're empowering your employees with the knowledge that their contribution is making a difference. And then, the final step here is recognize employees for hard work. Showing appreciation for work well done makes it more likely that a person will do it again and probably even do it better. It'll also encourage them to continue to be innovative, take action, and to solve the problems. And a really great closing statement from this article. While your company can likely achieve a certain amount of growth under your direct management, true and sustainable company growth takes a capable team of empowered employees, Kevin. And those are the key takeaways from last week, or at least for today's show.
Craig, what I love about these 8 steps that you've given us. they're quite simple, right? But yet people find it so. I mean, just the one that you speak of here, delegate to develop, right?
Yes.
If you just change the frame of kind of going, I'm delegating so I can develop you on purpose, right? So intentional.
Yes.
It changes the developing, right? And it changes why you're delegating. But I think, when you hear it, it's very practical, and you kind of go, yeah, these are practical steps that anyone should be able to follow. But it's that actual implementation that people really get stuck, and they kind of, it's difficult for, to recognize employees for hard work or communicate the vision. And you're going, like, these are leadership skills 101.
In essence, yes.
Should be something that people do on a regular basis. And yet, when you go to lead certain leaders, you speak to them and say, well, what's the vision? What do you know what the organization's vision is? And no one can tell you. Like, it's a frightening kind of concept. But I love the good job system. I think that's a fantastic system to kind of implement.
Yes.
So, Craig, I got a quote for you, and I think you're going to enjoy this one, from Jack Dorsey, the ex-owner of Twitter, or now called X. I don't know why it's called X. We should investigate that conversation.
Ex-owner.
Yes. But Jack Dorsey said, you can worry about your competition, or you can focus on what's ahead of you and drive fast. And I think that's probably the sort of my tactic. I'm not worried about people on my left or my right. I'm like, what am I doing, and how can I get there really quickly?
Set your North Star and off you go.
Absolutely. Craig, thank you so much. Thanks for the insights. I absolutely love this. Guys, if you want to catch it, it's every Thursday at 12 o'clock on ebitzradio.com or any major podcast channels and YouTube. Go and check out the Lunchtime series. Craig, have a fantastic day, and I will chat to you next week.
Look forward to that, Kevin. Have a good week ahead.
Cheers for now.
Ciao. Bye.